G'day and welcome to the Investor Motivation Podcast. My name's Robert Gowdy and I've got with me Amy Lehman. Welcome, Amy.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great.
Good. Second week back at work, our first full week for 2025.
Yeah.
Second podcast.
Yeah, it is. The second podcast. I don't think the first one's gone out quite yet, but this will be, we'll put it out in order for everybody.
Yep, absolutely. What are we chatting about today, Amy?
Today we're actually, Rob, for everybody, this is a bit of a sneak preview as well. Rob is going to start a blog. Rob's Blogs.
Rob's Blogs. I'm not sure what that'll look like or where it's going to be yet, but going to get my son Lewis to help me with that. But yeah, I've already got 30 racked up that I've been working on over the last 3 months. Thought about, do I write a book? That seems like a commitment, and when someone is impatient and want instant results, I thought a blog would be better, and potentially that can turn into something down the track.
Yeah, and you have an idea every single day, a new one, so I think a blog is great for you to just jump on each idea at the time, do something awesome, put it out. Yeah,
that's right, instant gratification.
Yeah.
And this is really what today's chat is about, is being based on...
yes, I've picked a topic out of your ready-to-go blog posts, and we're going to have a chat about it.
Yeah.
Because they're all as equally interesting as each other, so it's hard to pick, but
and
see how we go.
Yeah, a lot of these ideas are, come from what I'm seeing chatted about on social media, what I'm seeing with case studies with clients. It's coming from the last 27 years of being a financial advisor what people are thinking about. So, hopefully it's engaging and on point for some people. But today is really about, I think ultimately everyone wants financial independence.
Yep.
And that's why...
I agree with that.
Yeah, to achieve, to have money, to have enough money
freedom.
that gives freedom and options.
Yeah, I think whenever we ask clients, what's the main reason you've come into it, they just want that freedom to not be chained to their desk, freedom to go on that holiday or, go interstate and see the family elsewhere, just to have that, freedom to take a day off and do what they want to do and what they love.
Yeah. And the freedom from a psychological point of view, not to have to worry about money.
Yeah.
To know things are, they've set things up nicely and then they don't need to think about it anymore. Yeah. But I think, I suppose building wealth is about, it's that future options. It's about now, the present.
Yes,
and obviously we've definitely spent a lot of time with our clients making sure it's not just about down the track, it's also about, the present as well. Yeah. Our new client, Gary, that came in, I've known my whole life nearly. The old footy coach had just said, I asked, regrets, and he just said, we saved too much when we were young. And they've had an amazing retirement with enough money for the options that they chose to do, not flamboyant, but the regret was they saved too much. Yeah. And you wouldn't think you'd hear that, but now, obviously, in the early 80s, things have slowed up a bit. Health is not as good, and that's where those regrets have kicked in a bit, and where I've been the last couple of years, particularly to retired males. Your job in retirement and life is to build the memories to reduce the regret.
Absolutely. Yeah. TM.
Trademark
that motto. Put it on a t-shirt. I'll wear it.
And I suppose I think everyone wants that financial freedom. Yeah. There's also a gratification in being wealthy. I believe that if there's a good feeling in achieving. It doesn't change who we are. Money doesn't make us happier or more content, but there's definitely a gratification of doing something, like paying off a house.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or getting to that, finally getting to that emergency fund for those that start out, putting that money away to hit that point, and you can do it, and that in itself can be the first step to empowering you to then accumulate on that and build wealth from there. Yeah.
Now, you've already picked a hole in my blog article here, haven't you? and that was obviously how bloody boring the title was.
Well, yes. Rob's title for this topic is Becoming Wealthy Slowly, the most reliable path to financial freedom. And I don't know, but I just wouldn't want to click on that. That's not clickbaity enough for me.
You're already asleep, aren't you? Cool.
I think the reason I chose the topic is I think it's extremely important that people should understand it, and it's not about overnight wealth. And if you've clicked on something that says click on this link and you'll become a millionaire in a year, that's a red flag. That's
Yes.
not real. It's not realistic. It's scammy. And then there should just be a simple, stress-free way to build wealth, and that's what we're pretty much talking about today.
Yeah, and we're all seeing, everyone that's listening or watching on TikTok Live, we've all seen, lots of noise around money. It's obviously it's a big theme on social media, and some of the stuff that Amy, we essentially saw a similar post.
Yeah.
What was your experience?
I was just flicking through Instagram and a reel pops up, as they do, Property Spooker, saying if you're 23 years old and you and your partner save $120 a week each, by the end of the first year you'll have $27,500. Use that money to buy a home.
Sounds like bad calculations to me. Poor maths.
Yeah. Use that money to buy a home with 5% deposit.
Yes.
In 2 years' time, if that home was $500,000, it's now $750,000. Use the equity out of that home to buy your second. By the time you're 25 years old, you'll have a property portfolio worth $1 million.
Right.
And that's all it said. And it was, this, wealth accumulating building strategy. And I just thought, how much debt are they going to have? $950,000?
Yeah.
And that's all they do.
And that's assuming that the valuations go up.
They nearly double in 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the similar thing that I saw, except there was a third leg that you buy the two, and then 3 years later, after 7% growth, you then take out $200,000 of that equity and buy two more properties. And I did a post on TikTok, which really modelled that. What would the cash flow look like if everything went absolutely perfect?
Yeah.
And it meant the cash flow loss was huge. It was $30,000 per year, if I remember right. The debt load is huge, and that was if everything went perfectly.
Yeah.
But it's highly doubtful that the banks would even entertain it.
Yeah, absolutely not. I hope not.
Yeah, so it's all that sort of stuff that I'm seeing out there, and it's all debt driven, and it's all been driven by people with conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting as well, with a client I think you did, and they had, 2 investment properties, and you said to them, how do you feel about your cash flow and things at the moment? And he goes, yeah, fine, I just don't look. But that in itself is not a feeling of fine, because if it was fine, you would feel comfortable looking at it.
Yeah.
And
It was head in the sand completely.
Absolutely, just blissfully unaware.
Yeah, just the numbers in terms of debt are just so large, and that's something I have written about and we've spoken about a lot, that people are not giving the respect that debt deserves. And most of the people that are recommending people go down that path are people that have a conflict of interest, and they make their money via the transaction of property. And I think that's where I highly recommend people get more balanced views.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because it's gone up for the last 25 years for any manner of reason, low interest rates, government intervention and free money handed out across our community, is that just kicking the can down the road for a larger correction? Yeah. We don't know any of this, but the risk gets higher the further any asset goes up.
Yeah.
And that's my point. So how can we do it where it's not just debt and risk on risk?
I would say spend less than you earn.
So rule number one?
Rule number one, spend less than you earn. So that's not going into negative gearing and having negative cash flow to, have this investment property. That's the most complicated way you could probably go about it, and the riskiest way you could go about it. Instead, just, have your expenses, have your income, spend less than you earn.
Yep. Use
that remainder to put into growth assets that don't need debt.
And when people talk about negative gearing, that's all about the tax savings, which is, so it seems to be a tax-driven strategy, and then there's just this blind assumption that it goes up and it doubles every 10 years. And I've spoken to many people over the last few months where their property investments they have purchased have done anything close to that, and yet they're still losing that money each year. And there's lots of people that have made money. And there was one chap that on that post where I sort of broke down the strategy that within about 5 years you end up with 4 investment properties, a bucket load of debt, and lots of risk. Where a guy said, "Well, Rob, what's the alternative? What else do Australians do?" And I'm working on that one now.
Yep.
And
that projection.
Yeah, and I've broadly already done it in my head that it's, for me, you've got to save something.
Yes.
Yep, you've got to pay down debt.
Yeah.
You need to use, if you say, right, we desperately want to reduce tax, and that's where negative gearing in Australian residential property is just so geared towards. If that's your goal, then we can use superannuation. And then people say, well, that's great, but superannuation, I can't touch it till I'm 30.
Yeah.
Till I'm 60. So it might be 30 years for some people.
Yeah.
And that's where it's a combination, particularly in early years, of let's set the loan, know when the loan is going to be paid off and how old you'll be.
Mm-hmm.
Put money into super to save tax.
Along the way, yeah.
Along the way, simply. Instead of spending $1 to save 30 cents, you invest
a dollar.
Yep, and you pay 15 cents on the way in instead of your marginal tax rate, guaranteed, so no debt.
Yeah.
And then you also set up your non-super investments, because some people may want to retire prior to age 60.
Yeah, so that's putting enough away to do that tax saving. That is, the property spruiker's argument for property, mainly that tax deduction. You've killed that argument essentially by maximising superannuation contributions, tax saving and investment. And then, if retirement's a long way off, it's investing in your own name in an investment portfolio.
Yeah, and I've already proved it, and of course, I knew I was able to in terms of, with employer contributions, with extra salary sacrifice. And I've modelled this on 28, a couple aged 28.
Yeah.
They they put in $100 per week each into super, less 15% tax.
Mm-hmm.
We set the tone around when they pay their home loan off, so that gives them more time to accumulate.
Yeah.
And we also put 10 grand away. So I've done the cash flow side of it, and compared to loss-making properties, it just makes sense. And if you do this very boringly over a long period of time, you will get there, and you don't need the stress of, no tenants, bad tenants, or any of those issues, maintenance, and the risk that the debt is just the debt, and the asset doesn't go up.
Yeah.
And you get diversification as well,
which is extremely important. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big bet on one asset class.
Yeah.
That whilst has been good. So, so if everyone is tax driven, there is great tax ways to reduce your tax.
Yeah.
And none of this is probably as exciting as doing walkthroughs and houses and
I don't know. I think, my partner's in real estate. He obviously thinks that's exciting. I don't think that's exciting one bit. He sometimes will offer me to go through a house to look at, and I don't have a single interest in that, but I'm then very interested in researching businesses.
Yep.
And I'll tell him about this business I've come across and he has no interest. So personal preference, and it's probably teaching yourself what things are understanding what is important to you and finding interest potentially in other things. The more you learn about it.
And I think obviously property has served people very well in the past. Some people, not everyone.
Yeah.
And you definitely see these things online where people say, well, shares or property, and there's people that are 20 or less saying, well, I think it's property and I believe it's property because of the leverage.
Yeah.
And I think this is where these young people have may well have had some growth, but leverage can work against.
Yeah.
And this is the bit that just doesn't get any noise. If the leverage, you put in the debt leverage, you put in 50 grand and borrow 500. It doesn't need to go down by much until you're in negative equity. So leverage, debt can work against you. So if it work with you, it can work against you.
Yeah.
And I don't hear anyone talking about that.
No, because it's all a tax deduction.
Yeah. Now, I'm all for borrowing money to invest. I've done that nearly my whole life.
Yes.
And I think that's one but you can do it in a more safe manner. Now, will banks let you lend against share portfolios?
Yes.
They will. That's a margin loan. Will they let you lend against your home to then invest that money? Yes, they will, but the rates for a margin loan, what you pay is higher. The amount you can borrow is far less.
Yeah. Than a home loan. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason for that is volatility.
Yes.
So what I suppose the post that I'm about to do, I'll probably do it tomorrow, is going to be show the path really without debt, knowing that at any stage, once you've got a huge amount of equity in your home or you've saved up and you've got a portfolio that you can lend against, and then the market drops by 40%.
Yeah.
Reasonable opportunity. Not that you'll feel like doing it.
No.
And you don't have to do it, because I can prove that we can get people to. You can get there without it, just by consistently saving a big block of money each year, which includes employer contributions and your own contributions to super to save tax, and also non-super.
Yeah.
And just doing it over decades.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I guess, the purpose of today's chat, is doing it without that risk. But if someone thought, well, the risk is the tax deduction, then the argument would be, yes, you can do it with the risk, and that's a margin loan. Just be invested in the better performing asset class.
Yeah.
Why take on that risk and then be in an asset class that doesn't, perform? It's the same amount of risk, really, if you're willing to, ride out market volatility and not be scared by fluctuations in the market, understand it's inherent, and the long-term graphs is growth.
Yeah. And that's the thing that the banks don't like, and that's why margin loans are just not as flexible. They won't lend as much, is because of the short-term volatility, and that's because markets trade. They're liquid. You can be in and out of any business across the world in an instant.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. Banks understand human and investor behaviours. They know when markets drop. Although long term it's a better performing asset class, but they understand human reaction to market drops is fear.
Yep.
You can't tell everyone not to sell, but they might. So that is a risk, and they'll only go up to maybe 60%.
Yeah,
because of that.
And this is also part of the opportunity.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. So, but what I'm suggesting here, and this was more so the article that I've written, is more about consistently saving over a long period of time, that you can actually do it without the debt. If you choose not to. May not be quite as exciting, but if you're regularly putting money in on a monthly basis, it's automated and it's set and forget.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Very good. Any other thoughts?
I was going to say, you didn't have an actual figure from your projections that you did for that couple.
Well, I had them pay. It got over. I think it was around, in today's dollars, got to around over 2 mil, and that was,
which is very comfortable.
Yeah, very comfortable.
Is that at age 60?
Yeah, there was at age 60. Today's dollars, we take inflation into account, and it was saving a bit over 30 something per year.
38, I think.
Yep, 38, and obviously a big chunk of that is employer contributions, plus salary sacrifice, and then we added 10 of personal savings, and then we went across and said, right, I assumed 550 grand home loan, 20. Everyone sets or the bank will give them a 25-year loan, or they'll give them a 30-year loan, and apparently now you can go up to 40 years. Cringe. So I said, right, okay, let's have it paid off in 20 years, which means they're 48. And then I said, so that I think it was 48,000 that would go to the loan, principal and interest, each year that you invest 28 of that. So that would be an increase of probably concessional contributions for that last 12 years, and you keep 20 grand of that to go and have fun.
Yeah, not even put it towards the investment portfolio, but have fun.
Get that balance right. And that's what we're all, it's not all about retirement. No. It's also about today. It's about when the kids are young. And of course, the other things to think about, and this is where it'll never be a one-size-fits-all strategy. Everyone has their own goals, needs and objectives. And this is where, make sure their insurance is right, make sure their estate planning is right. There's so much in terms of balanced lateral thinking financial advice that just gearing into property does not take into account. And everyone's different.
Absolutely. For some people, they might not think it's $100 they can put away a week, and then it's just rejigging the figures or the time frame to still make it work. Or some people might be able to contribute much more, and then it's, getting the balance between how much to put into super to be more tax effective throughout, or put more into investment portfolios. It's
And actually, the nice part about the strategy that I'm suggesting is that, and we're comparing what we're seeing online, and a lot of Australians are property mad and obsessed.
Yeah.
That you make that commitment to property, and those debts are there. Your ability to change how much you pay is about zero. The bank dictates that, unless you want to pay more. But in our strategy, say there's a tough time where the cash flow is not working, we can just tweak it
and switch off that salary sacrifice if need be.
Yeah, that'd probably be the last one we do. But we can just manipulate it, then do the projections to say, okay, through this tough time, for whatever reason it is, we can change it.
Yeah.
And you've got flexibility. But a lot of people that Amy and I are seeing when we're out and about chatting with new clients is, people with very high incomes, but the debt load is over 2 mil. Cash flow is smoked.
Yeah, they're not contributing extra to super, taking that easy win. So they're being taxed at very high marginal tax rates. And of course, there are times when people earn so much that there isn't a lot of scope, but using that max each year, the 30,000 we all have available to us, is the easiest tax win that we can have, and forced investment strategy. That's all super is. It's forced savings for your retirement and the rest of your life.
But people are missing out on that opportunity because the cash flow draw of too much debt. So
Negative gearing means they're using personal cash flow income to pay off an investment property that they think should be paying for itself.
Or just to keep the ownership.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one where you've got that flexibility to change tact and say, okay, if I can't put 10 grand into the non-super investment, but if it's 7.5, how does that affect our long-term strategy? And that's the thing that we can project, and that's why we spend so much time on our projector to help. And obviously people on TikTok have seen a lot of that. We've done a bit on YouTube as well, where we're showing how people can get by on different amounts of money with sometimes Centrelink help or sometimes without Centrelink help.
Yeah.
So flexibility, diversification, some debt or no debt.
Yeah.
For me in the future, it'll be opportunistic debt.
Yeah.
Yep. Where I'll know when the markets really hit the skids and everyone feels horrible, our portfolios go down and we feel like trash, I'll be probably ready to go. Where most people are saying, but it could go down a bit further.
Yeah, it could go down further, so I'll sell my assets now.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll be the one buying when that happens.
Yeah.
For myself and also for my clients, and I think that's we'll be. One thing I say to our clients is we'll be buying when you least feel like buying, and that is that what I call peak pessimism, and that is often a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. So you can become independently wealthy.
Absolutely.
You can do it without debt. It's just consistency and it's time.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to play this game at home, and you can just jump onto the Money Smart website. It's a very simple projector, but if you you can save $150 a week, either in super or an investment portfolio, you can put that figure in 20 years' time, see what that's worth, add an interest rate there for some compounding. And it's a fun game to play. It's amazing how $150 a week, if you can afford it, can really, really set you up.
Yeah. And superannuation, we've gone over this 100 times, but going to superannuation, you pay 15% tax on concessional contributions. That is compared to marginal tax rates, which go up to 47%, including Medicare. But say for the average Aussie, that they earn between 45 grand and $135,000, you pay 32 cents a dollar. That is a guaranteed 17% tax saving.
Yep.
None of this is rocket science. It's just about consistency and a commitment. And that's where it probably can be exciting, where if people are watching closely portfolios build, just money increase slowly over time.
Yeah,
it works.
Is exciting.
Yeah. And if you do that over long enough, awesome.
Absolutely.
You're there, and then you've got the security and the freedom to go and do the things that you choose.
Yep, and you're not tied to anything with debt. I think it's really cool as well that if you do just have the investment portfolio that, like for shares, and you run into a tough patch and you need to stop contributing to that. Of course, you don't want to, but you can also sell those assets, shares, and have your money in 2 days.
Yep.
Whereas if you've run into a tough patch and you've got a lot of debt with investment properties, and you need to clear some of that debt because you physically can't even be negatively geared anymore because you don't have even the cash flow during that tough time, you can't just sell that investment property within 2 days and have the money and be cleared. It's months and months in the market for some properties, and you might not get the price that you want and be able to clear the debt because depending on the property spooker, your house might be worth less than the debt you have.
Well, and that happened this week for one chap.
Yeah.
He's only just settled in the last 1 or 2 years, and the debt is 770 and the asset value is 620.
Yeah.
And he's spending time working harder when he should be with his very young children. It's there's a lot of stress out there, and some pretty ordinary examples.
Yep. So hopefully everyone takes from this message, the next time they see a reel on any social medias, just think about what is funding that asset of $1 million property portfolio.
Yeah.
It's a lot of debt.
Yeah. And the person that is trying to sell it to you, what is their motivation?
Yeah.
And that'll be about 8%, more than likely.
High commissions.
Cool. Excellent. Thanks, Amy.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
TikTok and Instagram at The Wealth Diaries.
So, The Wealth Diaries.
Yep.
And obviously check out our YouTube channel, that is Investor Motivation. And obviously podcast and YouTube. YouTube is, we've got over 700 videos now, and it's all education based. Please get on there. For myself, I'm on Instagram and TikTok. TikTok is where I am most active.
Yes.
And most comfortable for some reason, don't know why. So if anyone's got any ideas or any topics you'd like us to cover, please let us know, and that'll be cool.
Yeah, please.
Excellent. Thanks for listening. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.